I love seeing is that focus on the customer pain points with their current solutions is really what's driving innovation. And it speaks to the larger question of just like, you've been managing innovation now for decades, generally at the forefront of this. Is the management of innovation changing with these new changes of AI?
There's a lot you can do with the wonders of software and compute once you have a digitized version of the reality around us. In order to do that, there's a lot of development that are vertical specific for very specific niches. AI can accelerate a lot of that grunt work and the research work that previously would have taken days or weeks of research and might not have been exhaustive or uncovered all kinds of data. That AI tools are very, very good at surfacing data from a much larger corpus of underlying data that they have available to them.
Welcome to another episode of AI Product Leader, where every week we shine a light on what it really takes to join the AI world. A real conversation with real AI builders, founders, product leaders, AI experts, technologists, and everything in between to find out what that path looks like, whether you're building AI products or a career in AI. Have a question or topic? Email us at AI Career Boost, support at AI Career Boost, to join in on the conversation. I'm your host, Polly Allen, the founder of AI Career Boost, where I spend my time helping product leaders navigate the world of AI and thrive in AI leadership roles. And I've spent my career on both the product management and development sides of the fence. I'm an ex-Alexa AI principal product manager, where I launched the very first generative AI answers on Alexa. And I'm super excited to bring back one of our guests today. Thanks so much to Nico for joining us. Nico Posner is the VP of Product Management at Q3D Sensing. And Nico's career has spanned some of the world's most innovative companies, including LinkedIn, eBay, Clover, and Xero. Nico's career is a masterclass in innovation with a massive impact across industries, from startup growth to some of the world's largest companies. Nico's been working with AI since 2018 with incredible results. For example, as a former VP of product at Xero, Nico led initiatives integrating cutting-edge AI and predictive analytics into products used by over 100,000 small businesses worldwide. And today he's here to chat with us about a really exciting new innovative launch from his company, Q3D Sensing, of a product called AuraGo, a 3D reality capture LiDAR sensor. Nico, thanks so much for coming on today and chatting with us about this latest innovation.
Yeah, thanks, Polly. It's great to be back again.
Yeah, wonderful. So we've talked in the past, and I will link to the episode above about your background and how you got into AI. I'd love to hear a little more about Q3D Sensing and the kinds of business that they're in.
Yeah, so Q3D Sensing is an early stage technology startup based here in Silicon Valley. And we're really focusing on the evolution of AI to develop an AI platform for capturing the real world around us and enabling the digitization of that so that downstream customers and use cases can be enhanced with the real world data that's captured through the reality sensor that we have created, and then transformed through software into many, many different solutions and use cases.
Incredible. I just love the name reality sensor in this age of AI, when we're like, you can't tell what's real anymore. To actually be like something that interacts with the 3D world and makes much like two-way communication with AI between the 3D world possible. It's super exciting. I'd love to dive into LiDAR. I know a lot of people, myself included, when we first started talking about this, aren't necessarily aware of like, can't I just capture images with my iPhone? Like, what are the advantages of using a technology like LiDAR?
Yeah, so LiDAR has been emerging as a technology. LiDAR has existed for decades,
Mhm.
and some of the use cases that people are familiar with are the LiDARs that are on top of the self-driving cars that are now becoming more prevalent in
Oh,
many cities. Those are LiDARs that are developed for longer range and high frequency to make sure that the self-driving cars don't run people over. Um, but there are other LiDARs that are useful for many other use cases. Apple has integrated a LiDAR into their pro level iPhones and iPads, and those LiDARs can be useful for up to about 5 meters or 15 feet in range to capture the environment around them using that technology. Those are very useful for many use cases. You could do some basic scanning of the environment around you and produce some basic models. But our product is a LiDAR that uses a different base technology that gives an extended range. So Our LiDAR technology can capture data as far as 70 meters or about 210 feet. But our focus really is between the 10 and 30-meter range,
Okay.
optimizing because that's where, up to 100 feet, which is where most of the real world business use cases happen. So, if you think like what they call AEC, architecture, engineering, construction, there's a
Mm,
lot of work and investment in that and those industries around digitization of the real world environment to enable those companies to then understand what is or and then merge that through software and AI to what is and what may be, and then track construction projects from start to finish, progress tracking. You can do tolerance mapping around is this built to spec. There's
mm,
a lot you can do with the wonders of software and compute. Once you have a digitized version of the reality around us, and so in order to do that, there's a lot of development that are vertical specific for very specific niches for
right.
different use cases in interior design or construction or video game, world development or robotics or drones. But all of that data relies on a data set that reflects the reality of the world around us. And in order to do that, you can capture some of that using, for example, the iPhone LiDAR, or you can use it, using the device that we have,
Yeah.
which is size LiDAR, which attaches to a smartphone or tablet, and this can capture, much greater range, much greater depth of data, and to then extend that range and the data capture for these downstream use cases. Our product really will extend,
Yeah.
the ability for people and businesses to capture the real world reality to then export that data either in various standard file formats or a data stream to then do things with it, whether it's insight, whether it's driving robotics or doing analytics or data processing or all the magic that you can do with the data and the insights that you can drive from that through software as a downstream workflow. But someone needs to capture that up front.
Yeah.
We're
Active.
building a hardware product and a software solution that accompanies this device to be that front bleeding edge of the data capture into the ecosystem, which will then feed a lot of that downstream magic that happens thereafter.
Oh my gosh. We'll get into that magic in just a sec, but I'd love to see a demo of the device. I remember you saying that normally LiDAR that has this kind of capability is much larger and kind of unwieldy, and like you have to kind of bulk carry it around to construction sites and things like that. Is that right?
Yeah, there's really a spectrum of technologies, cost, fidelity, or accuracy and precision.
Yeah.
There's the lower end devices that either use what's called photogrammetry, which is using just the cameras and interpolates the 3D environment and can create either a mesh or a point cloud out of that. Then there's the LiDAR that are embedded into the iPhone Pros and iPad Pros right now that can capture again up to about 15 feet.
Yeah.
Those can all be then processed. And then on the higher end, there are tripod-based systems or handheld-based systems that use other lidars, real lidars that use different technologies to scan much wider range. And the tripod-based, professional-based systems can capture millimeter precision up to hundreds of meters in distance, and so, there are even ones that go on airplanes for even much farther range against
Oh, wow.
specialized tools. But for the AEC industry, typically the lidars that are on tripods can produce the millimeter level precision measurements, but they cost between $20,000 and $150,000 per device. They're big, they're heavy, they require training, and therefore they often are not available to the teams that need them, or if a company I spoke to recently only has the budget to afford one of them. So they are
Mm,
limited in terms of the channel of the throughput of that device because they only can afford one. But our device is sitting in between these. So from the cost perspective, it's more expensive than an iPhone, but it
yeah.
can give you some of the greater range and technology of a true point cloud that you would get from a professional level device, but with centimeter level precision. So, what we've uncovered with a lot of customers is that those professional level, very expensive devices are amazing, but they're overkill for a lot of use cases where they don't need that millimeter level precision.
Right.
Centimeter level precision is perfectly fine for estimation, or if you're doing a civil engineering project and you want to scan the pipe before you put the asphalt down on the street, which is now becoming common practice for electrical utilities, et cetera. You don't need to know that down to a millimeter
Millimeter.
level precision. Centimeter level is perfectly fine, so you know
Yeah.
where to dig and where not to dig in the future. So there's this sweet spot in that spectrum of accuracy that's at a lower level of precision than these very expensive high-end systems
Yeah.
for those use cases where that just isn't needed. And then where you do need those higher level precisions, then you bring in that expensive equipment to get that millimeter level precision. So these devices often can work in concert. They can work
Mm.
together,
Yeah.
and the data sets can be combined on the back end to combine the data sets. But in the meantime, we provide a device that is, only a few $1,000s. It has the mobility, you can attach it to your iPad, or
Yeah.
your iPhone, and just snap it right on, and there
That's
you
so
go.
cool.
You can have each of your field teams out there having these devices, collecting the data with the precision that's needed for those use cases, and then you reserve that specialized expensive equipment for only where you need that higher level of precision and where the fewer devices may be available. So it's really filling a gap in that spectrum of where you want something that's more robust than just an iPhone,
Right.
but you really don't need that $100,000 device that may be overkill for many use cases. So it
Mm.
plays as part of a larger family of tools that
Yeah.
companies will need, but we think it's going to be very exciting for many companies who are going to be interested in this tool that fill that middle gap of
Totally.
something that's very affordable, provide point cloud data sets with centimeter level precision, and then they can reserve, work on their toolkits out around how they deploy all their tools and resources most effectively to drive business ultimately.
Oh, fantastic. You've been involved very, very early days since Q3D, right? So you were involved in like initial decisions about go to market. Like, how did you think about customer segmentation and like, hey, what markets do we go through first?
Well, I think we've been thinking about where do these technologies exist today? And again, the LiDAR technologies with these more expensive and high precision devices have existed for a long time. And Apple has done a great job on the lower end, more of the consumer level.
Hmm.
But, our founding team really realized that there was this gap, this middle gap, and that we could repurpose some of these technologies that have been in market for a long time and look for a new form factor and bring out device to market, which will solve that need and strike that intermediate balance. We're not trying to compete or replace these millimeter level tripod based systems. Those are very valuable and important for specific use cases. But there was this pain point of companies saying, I don't either have the budget for those, or I don't have enough of those, or the training. I'm worried about sending that into the field, or it won't fit above the ceiling. It won't go down into a manhole, or I don't want to send it into the mine because it's a really expensive piece of equipment. What happens if it falls and breaks, et
Right.
cetera? That's a very expensive piece of equipment. So there is this opportunity that the team saw around doing something that will bring that professional level of quality data and provide that more affordable price point. We think it can really democratize access to this LiDAR technology to smaller firms who don't have $1 million budgets, but maybe smaller for medium-sized firms who would love to have this technology and have access to it, and really again use the teams and tools that they have more effectively and have a cost-effective solution where every crew can have one of these devices out there at without breaking their budget and really drive business and create value for them.
Totally. Well, it sounds like, finding that right slice, right, of the exact market you wanted to target has been a big part as just as big as, like, the AI itself. Like, to what degree is there there is AI involved. We were talking about this before. It's not necessarily the new flavor of Gen AI. This is more traditional AI like you'd worked on in the past for years as well, right?
Yeah, so there's no Gen AI in this particular area, but there is a lot of data processing around data quality and taking the data sets. And when we have we use it's called a SLAM scanner,
Mm,
um, which stitches together different frames.
yeah.
Um, and to do that, you need a lot of processing and math to do so intelligently and know what to discard, what to keep, to make sure your data sets don't blow up. Because these data, this device sends out 130,000 laser points per second. That and measures that. That's a lot. That can produce a very large data set very, very quickly. And so part of the software magic and the intelligence is what to keep and what to discard to create that accurate map and and create those file sizes that are manipulable that you can then um, process in the cloud, or in our case, process it locally on the device, which has a lot of key advantages than having to upload to the cloud, which may have low connectivity and wait for a long period of time. So there's
Yeah.
different approaches to both data capture, data creation. The synthesis of the data is key point. We take one of our key differentiator value props is that we are doing processing at the edge. So on the local device, so you can validate, have you captured everything that you wanted to capture
Mhm.
before you leave the location. One of the key pain points that we've heard from customers is they go out and do a scan, they take it back to the office, they wait hours for the cloud processing to go through, and then they realize they missed a corner, they missed an
Oh, of
important
course.
area, and they don't realize it until later, and that they have to go then back. And there's a lot of cost and time and effort to fill in those gaps. With our
Mhm.
device, we focus very much on that edge processing in the software. You can actually do a basic rendering, a 3D rendering immediately on device. You can even then append to those data sets to fill in those gaps before you even finish the scan and before you finish the project, so you know with confidence that before you leave, that you've captured everything you need to. So thinking again end to end about the customer workflows is what are some of those pain points, is make it easy, affordable, to have one of these, have a device that is easy to use, it's plug and play, and then enable the user to visualize what have they scanned, make sure they've actually completed the job that they were asked to do on site, immediately live on device before you leave the site. And then with that data compression, to then allow additional post-processing in all the standard formats, or into all the other potential workflows that come thereafter. So there's a lot of magic and choices that we've made around making sure we're solving for a lot of really key pain points for our customers.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of excitement around this product launch that we announced about a month ago.
Oh, that's so exciting. Well, what I love seeing is that focus on the customer and their pain points with their current solutions is really what's driving innovation. And it speaks to the larger question of just like, you've been managing innovation now for decades, generally at the forefront of this. Is the management of innovation changing? Is it with the new changes with AI? Like how is this different from things you've seen before?
Yes. So I think the core innovation philosophies are the same, which
Mm.
is really understand customer problems deeply and then think creatively, and the full set of potential solutions given the potential technologies that are available at that time. And so that journey can change over time. The technologies that were not available 2 years ago or 2 months ago may be available today. And so part of the technology innovation strategy and leadership challenge is both staying up to breast of what is currently available today that wasn't available previously, and given the tools at our disposal, um, what is the best solutions that we could solve, and then of course mapping that to cost, quality, speed, monetization, opportunities, customer fit and appetite and demand for those solutions. You still need to do those mappings. But with the evolution of AI evolving a lot of these tools so quickly, there are new tools that are available every week, it seems.
Yeah.
And so one of the challenges is staying up to date on that, to make sure that you can both adopt and recognize both technology shifts that you want to take advantage of as early as possible when they are a good match for your product, customer segment, and solution that you're building. The second piece is what I see, and I hear this across the board, is how are teams and individuals using AI to accelerate their own work? So across the board. So in innovation development, there's a lot of work you can do with AI, Claude Code or others to create synthetic users and test use cases and do research and define user segments, or go find me the top 1,000 firms in this market who might be interested in this. Help me organize my thinking around how are we mapping our strategic opportunities and
Mhm.
product fit against the pain points that are out there in the data sets that can be retrieved and analyzed through all these tools. That process of strategy, evolution, and thinking about what is possible are greatly accelerated with the tools that are out there today and processing through those. Ultimately, you as the human and the leader in the team, you still need to discuss which of these are the ones that we believe are correct and go validate that further. Um, and which ones do we need to dig into more, and which ones, are not applicable. So it's not like AI can do all of this, but AI can accelerate a lot of that grunt work and the research work that previously would have taken days or weeks of research and might not have been exhaustive and covered all kinds of data. That AI tools are very, very good at surfacing data from the much larger corpus of underlying data that they have available to them.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it sounds like even though your product doesn't necessarily use Gen AI, you've been using it a lot in your own business and planning as a thought partner. What are your favorite tools to use when it comes to Gen AI and the latest wave?
Yeah, so internally we are a very small team, and so not only do we use the tools, but we encourage and really talk about which tools we're using internally, which ones we find effective, and we share best practices internally because we want to stay small and nimble. We want to leverage the tool set that are available to us to their maximum potential, and so we spend a lot of time figuring out how can we use these tools and which tools have we tried and which ones work well to increase that leverage of improving our operations or improving our insights or accelerating our response time to customer inquiries and classifying sentiment analysis and lots of um, AI tools, again, to accelerate some of that processing and work and analysis so that we can spend more time thinking about what is the results of that analysis and reacting to that, not and doing less of the actual data crunching to get to that analysis to begin with. So we spend a lot of time using those tools, and we definitely are very excited to be at the forefront of a lot of AI tools that are evolving in the technology world that are leveraging AI. For SaaS specific, disrupting new industries. Again, with a lot of this 3D reality capture, there's many companies out there who are doing really interesting things, but a lot of them, all of them, really rely on some tool to go out there and capture the reality of what is, to then do that magic on top of it, whether it's incorporating a scan of your warehouse into your operations software to work out and improve workflow for your humans and or warehouse robots. There's all you need to start with what is, not what was the plan, architectural plan that when we built it, 2 years ago or 10 years ago, but what is actually there today. The real world environment changes all the time. So there's a real need to both create, you can look at digitization of architectural plans and build plans, but then you can need to really get an up-to-date version of what is. And then what we're seeing is there's, again, a variety of the tools. You could take one of these laser scanners to scan a huge, warehouse environment that can capture that distance, that range, with a great accuracy. And then you could go through with one of our devices, maybe on a weekly or monthly basis, to capture what has changed since that last deeper scan and merge those data sets. So, we moved this set of pallets over here, or this rack, was removed or fell over, and therefore we need to reflect that in our data sets. That, again, is where then we could come in and say, here's a really great tool for you to go and do those interim scans, again, so that you will have an accurate and up-to-date reflection of your reality. And then you can do all that magic of understanding what to do with that data in the many software providers that are existing today, and many that I see that are emerging to help capture and utilize that data, the real world data, and do magic with that, with all the wonderful, powerful things that, software and compute and smart engineers and business people can come up with on solving customer needs better using all the tools in the toolkit, which now includes AI, it includes ML, it includes, 3D, reality capture LiDAR devices. It includes all of cloud compute, edge computing, all of that, to, really create some really incredible solutions into the real world that are going to meet real customer needs and create real businesses, since there's going to be a lot of opportunities to monetize those because they create real value for those businesses.
Absolutely. It feels like the whole era is just beginning, but that foundational layer where you can't make AI real unless you're working with real, valid, up-to-date data, right? That's just been the challenge in so many different domains when it hits the real world. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me today, Nico. This was such an exciting deep dive. So exciting to see what you've been up to since the Blueprint program, and really exciting to understand a little more too about 3D reality sensing and that world. So thanks so much again for joining us.
Thank you, Paula, for the opportunity to chat. It's been great talking to you.
Of course, that's our episode for the AI product leader this week. And as always, we'll be having our upcoming masterclass. So we'll be sure to join us soon for that masterclass on becoming an indispensable AI product leader. Coming up soon. The link will be in our show notes. We'll see you in a few weeks. Thanks so much.